Hi guys, welcome to my channel and I'm your host today. I know some of you noticed that recently I did some gameplay like Call of Duty and upcoming The Division 2, that kind of stuff. Hi guys, welcome to my channel and whoops, I forgot to turn off the volume from my end. Well, anyway, why I say video game specialist is a little bit tough to learn is technically, well, it's not about programming. It's more of an interest state, and learning the path of unity is one, and some other game tool that you definitely not heard of, like Houdini or this kind of technology wise processor. And here is a term that everybody knows. Game specialists paid double. Like, for example, video editing. Nowadays, I'm using this software, but somehow in game specialist course, they will ask you to go advanced, like going to DaVinci Resolve. That's one of those crazy atmosphere that you need to learn. And it's not just learning a game itself, it's actually more to the term of what you call it, buying some games, like for example Call of Duty, The Division, Ubisoft games, and some zombie games is quite what you call it, need of sort of improving these special cases. By learning itself, you will not be able to learn. But on my curve point, I literally learn from how the zombie sound, footprint, and literally the sound effect of the gun and laser shooting and everything is like fundamental. Literally, the term of gaming specialist doesn't mean it's about gaming. Gaming itself is more about learning to teamwork, and lately I am showing it through gaming because I definitely not from learning something is uh, able to do something. And myself, I use game specialist ways by playing games that actually include our workflow, and then we work about the game, and we talk about the games that we played, and we talk about sound effect, we talk about footprint, we talk about enemy footprint, we talk about how to sight for enemy, how to shoot the enemy, but we literally learning the curve. And then we're using the ray tracing technology to work from left and right, from one application to another program and another program. And Unity is one of the special case that we use this technology to advance ourselves through some introductions, and we learn from gaming, like for example the games that we play daily. How many gamers outside, like maybe 200 million or lesser, but the game specialist itself is programming. You guys know about programming, and I'm definitely not here to say programming is not a must, but is there as a multifunction purpose. But we also have this idea, sometimes buying a game and learning about the enemy movement, learning this, learning that, and then we also about talking about how the game people react. The reaction also come to detail, like facial recognition and how they uh, sit down on the floor, or maybe checking on the floor for the dead body to inspect something that they needed to be tasked for, and they schedule to do this and do that. So as a gamer itself, we intend to make this work as a game, and we play the game and we detail down some stuff, and it's not something that I would say 100% foolproof. My sense of term is learning from a game rather than study is something much of a interest. But for my term, because I want to be a game specialist, I need to do multiple tasking. And you see this microphone is also come with the game specialist. Like, for example, I buy the game. I want to have multi functions. I want to have good microphone quality. I want to buy something that actually happens to be the technology itself. And you can hear from my end, I've been using this microphone lately. It's not that bad. But to keep in mind, sometimes game specialists also stress at some point. I mean, DaVinci Resolve may not be for everybody taste, but I myself struggle once in a while. But DaVinci Resolve help by literally road mapping, like mapping where to go and place the dot here, place the dot there, and do some changes like video editing. But DaVinci Resolve got advanced section that nobody know called Fusion, and we use Fusion voice to like record the voices of the video game. Sometimes in game specialists, this kind of courses, you need to be prepared for budget. Like you definitely will be spending some, and the game specialist doesn't mean, oh, I'm buying this game is for what reason. It's technically learning curve. I myself quite a learning curve because every time we like learn a game, and a game actually teach you some things. Then in the meantime, while the subject keep changing and the game keep moving, rolling, and everybody just talk about games, so we ourselves experience the game, then we can talk about the game. And that's my learning curve where I spend quite a few budget to buy some serious game, for example, Call of Duty. And sometimes the game may be steep price, but it's based on what we are learning. Actually, the curve point is there. We need to co-op with it. As much as I hate to spend a lot of money, but keep in mind, game specialists have many perks in game design, sound effect, and 3D designer coming up. SketchUp also is another big one. And we also have something called what you call it, project management and influencer or project property, that kind of stuff. And all this is included in game specialists. You need to like understand how to use this function, how to use that function. And we also have LinkedIn that we link to other profile. So just in case in the nearest future we did our job, our project is done, and we're willing to like help other and get to that stage is difficult. I know not everybody is 100% foolproof about this segment, and some parents may be outdated to this generation, saying that why the point of buying a game, and why you don't want to tell to your mother and dad or father or sister that why you want to buy this game, and what's the point of doing this. Well, game specialists have a learning curve, and to up to a certain extent the gaming industry is booming high and non-stop going up. Well, in certain cases like me, I'm a slow learner myself. I learn from actual game itself, from the movement of the enemy, from the noise they make. They talk about zombie falling, and then the rock crumble bomb sound also have inside. Everything is included, and then we learn from there, and then we take notes about what we actually see, what we learn, and sometimes sharing advice to other people could sufficiently giving you some profile background, saying the next time you wanna go for gaming industry like Ubisoft or this, they need to take time. 2 years, 3 time, 4 years down the road, you probably want to gain knowledge, how to gain experience from here to go to a bigger company. And then travel is also another technology wise we talk about. Every day we are using technology, from VR game set to army fighter jet. Honestly, you see this itself, from the headphone, you can say I'm always into infocom technology. But in advance, we also talk about gaming in a certain area curve, and we ourselves also, as a gamer, as a game specialist, I know how stressed this technology world is, and not everybody is here to be professional at every little learning curve. And we also use hardware as well. As far as I hate to say, hardware is very hard to find, but we do need to track down a lot. For a sec. Sorry, I had a McDonald. And do keep in mind, sometimes when you get hungry at night or middle of the time, like for example, you got 10 minutes resting and then 15 minute resting before another project come in or something keep coming, we take the step of buying the thing at once. Like for example, I buy McDonald, and then another person would buy something else. That's the game specialist way, like for example, one way or another we are using connection to gain each other knowledge, and trusting is a big major idea that most of you don't know. Game specialists need serious teamwork. For example, Andy, I give Mr. Boy some props as well. He is busy in his own job, and he did mention that he can play sometime. Then I would appreciate he did his part. I mean, he might be busy at most point, but this point of view, Andy also busy with his personal job, and he also study as well at the same courses. And I said I talked to him at one point saying about what if we learn something about video game? Like for example, we buy the game that we play and then we learn something. That's the retracing of an idea. The step to advance your self learning curve. For example, today we talk about 3D animation, we talk about sound effects, sound FX. Even we use dragon bones to do the drawing. Is highly. I will call back the user later. But anyway, game specialists have many learning curve, and sometimes gaming itself is actually there. You need to buy certain things, you need to know things, and then keep in mind the budget may be limited to certain things. I never overspend. I know what I'm spending actually because I need to spend at a certain budget. Like for example, the microphone itself costs $40 and come with the soundboard. And the soundboard is not pre-installed. I need to preset a lot of things. So me and Andy work over remote access to help me out to repair some major gig problem. And then another point of view, game specialists also have to communicate with people. Whether you don't like them or not, for example, they have bad mouth of you, you have to like keep them into your inner circle. Not just leave them out and then leave them high dry because I need something. Doesn't mean like game specialist is more than that. You see, game itself, gaming wise, gaming is a big world. But everybody don't know that game specialist stress is how are we going to make that one project to another project pixel by pixel. And then we also learn multiple discussion about a game, and then we talk about these courses, we talk about other things. Not just one thing, probably more than 12 things a day. And sometimes the project can go insane from one page to maybe 12 different pages of step by step telling how to explain the open badges, how to do this, how to do that. Recently, I also use badges on my channel. Uh, Not every time, but sometime I will be using it, and I will be teaching you guys how to design a badge sooner or later. It's definitely on my to-do list, but not lately. I have too many things in my plate. I need to learn some stuff on my own, but Unity is there, and trust me, by the time I use Debunchy Resolve, it's really stressed. But if you've seen Unity and SketchUp coming up, boy, you better hope that you have enough sleep or coffee to keep you awake because you definitely need a lot of paying attention before screwing up some project that really intense and use a lot of money to come from. And there is certain time that I myself break down, and some people can break down easily because of stress and game specialists and classes from morning to afternoon to evening. We all struggle from one end to another. But in any cases like scenario, like I do this and then the next person will do this, and we also split work. We split work by discussing about how we turn one game to another game. and another game to another game. So my idea is from here, the Call of Duty Mobile, jump into Call of Duty Black Ops, and then jump into learning curve for the diversion 2 or division 2 at this point. And then we use those technology from one game to learning curve, and we using it to step, like stacking up together. And once the stack and stack and stack and stack, we can use the data to like tell you the sound effect and how we are gonna use this in the nearest future. The project is definitely there. I mean, sooner or later, it's gonna be there. In game specialist course, you need to know there is something like capstone project. That one is not sure what the project is, but there is people from real life. They have this experiment. They want to test your knowledge based in like how you do this, how you do that, and being a streamer itself, I stream game daily, but you know, a lot of work. And I give myself pride on that. I literally have no idea. Things can get a little bit more intense sometimes. And do keep note, always check the budget. Like, for example, I buy this on a discount rate, and then later on, I want to buy something else on a discount rate. And then we talk about how we protocol the sales. And for example, this game is on sale. Do advise yourself to get something at 35% off, and then 55% off, 70% off. That that's the bargain. We definitely pay for what we are here for, and we are learning from daily basis, like for example, more than that. And Unity itself is like copy and paste, but multiple function is used to this point that I need to tell people. Game specialists, do not be afraid, but be afraid only once you fail the project. I myself fear at certain point, but we use that to overcome in gaming. For example, Super Mega Champion, we use that sound effect, and then we industrially creative use the soundboard to overlay the sound effect, and the effect seems to be working fine. I mean, me and Andy testing it, not not too often, but we are using it for daily tasking, and it's not just one small portion of the budget we are using it. We are using at least 50 to 30 to 50% of the money, and then every month come to terms, the game specialist itself, they get paid, and I myself is on a learning curve and a learning wheel, and I'm using the game to like teach me how to do this, how to do that, and what to do in this function. For example, dodging a bullet, dodging an enemy, dodging a robot. It's also challenging. We also use those challenge to challenge our mindset, what to do this, what to do that, and we also use the idea of how the robots sound, how this, how that, like Transformer, how they use CGI, and we talk about games, music, and films. All in one, game specialist is everywhere. For example, in the Air Force, fighter jet. How about in the army? Field op. They definitely go digging a hole, and we're using that technology to like learn what they do in the daily tasking. to use that environment. And then we also see navy, we also see things, and sometimes it's not COVID-19 crisis. Game studio will assign you to certain place like today you will be going to certain location, you are filming this, you are filming that, please take note of this and that. But right now, COVID-19 strike, everybody stay at home. What we gonna do is definitely we hate to spend money. We all agree on that term, but sometimes based on project, we also need to learn how the game operate. So we decided, me and Andy decide not just one, maybe more than one or two people participate, is using our money to learn from buying a game and then another game to learning what's the difference. I can tell you the zombie is definitely loud, scary, and they're walking slow. There's also a flamethrower zombie that put out flame whenever I'm nearby. And there is punching zombie as well. Punch you down the floor and tell you to stay down. And then bullet wise is spongy, sometimes not spongy, sometimes overpowered, sometimes doing this, sometimes many things in one. That's why game specialist learning curve is there. And I strike to the point that the curve is too much. I use the game to change my speed here and there. So there's a lot of spending, there's a lot of this, a lot of that. And then once the COVID-19 disappeared, should be back to normal. The Playware Studio is down because everybody is afraid of the COVID-19 and we all don't want to get sick. And we opt out to optional. For example, today I cannot go out, everybody cannot go out, then what we do, we just use that money to buy one game, two games, and then we decide to use the game to do the learning and environment. For example, apocalypse to field of greens, leaf, trees, cars, car horning, dogs, and multiple things in one places. We can learn how people communicate, how people drinking coffee, lifting a cup of coffee. For example, I this one is a coffee. You have to drink like a normal standard kid or standard grown up drinking in a Starbucks coffee. That's a logical way. And how we place it on the table, we place this, we place that, we do this replacement thing, we do this. And if the project is not finalized, we can do some unarmed changes, but we do talk to the management and see which one is wrong, which one is this, and what's the final decision of the person that actually gave this project. And then from there on, they will pay you to study, to learn, to get to know the knowledge. And from what you know is what you don't know. And I'm learning from a beginner curve from the Banshee Resolve, from 3D animation, 2D animation also, and we're using Dragon Bone as a very expensive program. And we daily task ourselves, are we capable to do this set of things? Sometimes may not be, but sometimes it's best to learn from one person, a certain individual to another person, and then another person from different department. I myself communicate with art, so Andy is from art department, and art department need to go to strategy department, and then strategy department go to what you call it, writing department. Writing department go to admin department. That's the roadmap. And I'm at the admin department. I'm scared my share of fear is that if we don't learn, when are we going to learn? And we need to communicate from one end to another end, and we need to find different people from which department. For example, admin work, we have to take attendance. That's no way to say no. But there is curve learning place where we use some of this knowledge and gaining trust to talk to different departments from customer service itself. We talk about daytime, year. We talk about how is a day, how your work, how is this, how is that. And if stressed, we try to understand them, try not to provoke them. Then they will start to slowly gain that knowledge that we need to work. So gaming specialist doesn't mean play game. It's literally multiple thinking, and we use a lot of resources from Monday to Friday. We use tablets, we use computer, we use microphone, we use background effect, we use sound effects. All definitely count to a price tag that we eventually using our own money, rice bowl money that you're feeding a family, split the money with the school, and then the school material, the school hardware, the school gaming facility. We need to split on term, like literally from one term to another term, and another term, and another term. And then we talk about art department. Art department improving our drawing, improving our badges and achievement, and writing team, strategy team. They decide which part of this gonna be there, which part of this what is gonna be rewarded to the person, like achievement. For example, gain one headshot, and that will give you one instant achievement. That is what we are provoking ourselves to do, like poking the needle, which one to poke the hole. So which one goes here, which one go there. It's a lucky draw. Like for example, 50% chance that you're winning a rare skin and legendary skin. You're doing this, you're doing that. Multiple thinking is there, but in a place like a gaming studio, is more than that. We need to communicate from in team, off team. We talk about public testing. We also ask inviting people to come and test our game. And not just that, we are not allowed to invite anyone because of the COVID-19, but we are sending out copy of the game to reviewers. But capstone project is coming up on July or maybe a little bit down. But when that time come, we are gonna straight up fear, like very fear, like scared on the point that we really don't know. Sometimes we can struggle to don't know. Last minute we can figure that, oh shit, I forgot about one point. We forgot about this. We forgot about that. It's very immune to us. Our human type is learning error. While we learning, we also need to know that which point is to this, which projects that, and then which wiring to tap on tap. Like for example, instant the soundboard. You see this soundboard with buttons, and here everything is so narrow, and you can instantly change something by mistake. That's why I don't use soundboard too often. But Andy he point out to me the soundboard is used to change the audio. We can sing, we can record, we can do multiple things, but definitely it depends on your budget. Automatic, you will see budget, but we split the budget every month. Like for example, I buy today, and then the next person will buy this game, and the next person will talk about this game, and then we use that idea where we use the game as a very basic to learning the curve. While we are doing that, we also like try to communicate with the in-depth team and the depth of, like for example today I talk to art, I talk to writing, I talk to strategy don't want to talk to me, then talk to other admin talk, report back to the admin group, and then I know something and they learn something from here, a little bit of there, a little bit of here and there, everywhere is very chaotic. As a game specialist department, I myself learning from strategy, and then strategy go to art. We talk about multiple people. We are going to operate with different volumes. Not just one volume, not just your home, not just your ownership of the project. It's everybody in one places, and we definitely gonna feel the sweatiness, the sweatness in the eyes and the tears, because we definitely spend multiple time to design a game. We talk about games, we gonna talk about storytelling, we gonna talk about literate Riding Hood. That's one of the majority people will take a storybook to tell you, for example, your audiobook. And today we'll talk about Literate Riding Hood. And what Literate Riding Hood talk about is Literate Riding Hood on the way to go see grandma, and then we use that idea to tell a story in a game. If that makes sense. uh, from what I see in other studio, they also talk about how they gonna do this, how they gonna do that, and they also talk about is there any possibility that we use the Literate Riding Hood storybook into a reality? We turn Literate Riding Hood from what we know about Red Riding Hood is the little girl wear red hood and carry a basket of treats to go to the grandma house. And on the way to the grandma house, Little Red Riding Hood meet with a wood chopper. And then wood chopper greeted her hello. And then on the way, she say, "Oh, I'm going to my grandma house." That kind of a cringy story. But in the meantime, while she's talking to the woodchopper, unknown to her, the Red Riding Hood also don't know that the wolf himself is hungry for the treat, and he's eyeing for the treat from far behind. And he can overhear where's the grandma location, and what this wolf did was tricking himself into the grandma house. While Little Riding Hood is hopping on like tick tock, going to the grandma house, the wolf himself would sleep through, go to the grandma house, eat her alive first, or maybe like tie her up in the bedroom or put her in the cabinet. That kind of storybook. And then the wolf dressed up as a grandma, then the Red Riding Hood will come in and like tell "Oh, grandma, how big is your ear? Why you have this? Why have that?" And the wolf doesn't have patience. He ended up like maybe hurting the Red Riding Hood, and then we use that special way from Little Red Riding Hood. We changed that story to like how the Red Riding Hood saved herself or take an axe to kill the wolf. We have a lot of creative ideas from that project. It's not something I want to share, but there is a lot of storytelling here and there, and a lot of themes from art, writing, and gaming itself. We learn about facing danger, and we talk about how we gonna shoot, how we gonna aim, how we gonna do this, how we gonna do that, and then we learn from each other, teamwork, and that sounds about halfway we're learning there, and we'll talk about other performance, and we talk about how we gonna improve the frame rate. We're gonna talk about how we gonna like use NVIDIA panel, like AMD panel. That the as long as a game specialist, you will have the opportunity of learning NVIDIA technology as well. And keep in mind, NVIDIA doesn't pay me to say so, but that video card is very good. Anyway, I'm still halfway through the project and the game. We use that technology there, and we talk about multiple functioning. And trust me, it's never an easy idea to be a game specialist, but it's definitely worth if you're looking into switching mid-career to next time you know work on a game department like Ubisoft, EA, or other game DevOps places. You definitely gonna use those storytelling. For example, Tom Clancy The Division. What they trying to plan was the storyboard line. We also use dashboard. We use dashboard to tell the story outline. We outline from the original story to mix out to the next version of the Division 2. This Division 2 is talk about how you roam the city to rescue the innocent people. We learn how they die. We learn about multiple fiction here and there, and then we talk about how we gonna role play. We talk about animation. We use camera to record our movement to like improve the game special, and we use the effect. We use quite a few lighting here and there. That will be used in the Capcom project that we're gonna be there. We definitely gonna use a capstone project as well. We're gonna use a lot of things in one location and another location to, like for example, your New York City, your Washington DC, the War Memorial Statue. Where is this place? And for example, the White House, the inner depth of the White House, the painting, the housing, the car. We use that idea to learn from what I know. People don't know, and then we don't want to tell people, hey, this is our project. What are we gonna do? We definitely change a little bit here and there and improve the game once in a while, but we also need to follow the guideline that we are given about this project and what are we going to do about Unity. And trust me, I myself not a professional at any point, but I give them the idea from what I learned from a game, and then a game can actually teach you some half of what we learn. that's the project time and the project management. And trust me, it's never an easy way to say, oh, today I'm gonna spend a certain budget amount of the money. But the next thing you know, the Red Riding Hood was a good storybook. And then we change the story timeline. We tell that the Red Riding Hood got her own knife or her own axe to kill the wolf, or the wolf die on the flame, or the Red Riding Hood and the grandma is okay and split the food with the wolf. We can use that story timeline to impress the audience that we are looking into. And trust me, there's no kids around our corner. We use that Red Riding Hood storybook to write down in an audiobook. An audiobook people buy and then they learn about, hey, this book is Red Riding Hood. What about Riding Hood, Red Riding Hood 2.0 and 3.0? Where is it? I mean, it's definitely one Red Riding Hood storybook is bad, but another storybook, an upgraded featured about this and about upgraded story, how this and how this grandma is okay, how the woodman or wood chopper man come and rescue the grandma and the Red Riding Hood in the same time. It's definitely there. We use the storybook to hear we learned the original story. It's kind of boring, but we used that idea of the Red Riding Hood, and she have her own knife to cut the wolf, or maybe the law enforcement come and rescue the Red Riding Hood and the grandma. It's definitely there as a creative idea. The technology is there for us to use. So game up and game dev. We use that very same technology to tell you, oh, today we're doing this, we're doing that, and the next thing you know, we can change one storybook into a fictional storybook. Tell you from one fact to another fact, and then another fact into a fictional fact. That kind of storybook we change a little bit here and there. And we talk about Star Wars. A long, long time ago, the galaxy far away. You see that time frame when they put that? That's the intro about the Star Wars. But you guys don't know about the Clone War, the aftermath of the Clone War. We talk about what the recent release, the Bad Batch from Disney Plus. We use that story timeline to understand where that story come from. From example, Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm, they specialize in virtualize the Star Wars fantasy. We use that timeline story to tell the exact story about the Red Riding Hood. For example, Red Riding Hood got a lightsaber to cut through the wolf, or Red Riding Hood got a gun to save herself and the grandma. That's the penalty of using a story time frame. And we talk about Star Wars here. Star Wars is CGI effect, and they use a lot of lighting. They use about voice changes. For example, Star Wars, Darth Vader. That's one way to say. And we talk about Skywalker. We talk about Clone War beforehand, and then we talk about the Bad Batch. That is still ongoing today. It's the first 1 and 2 episode is very interesting. I watch one thing, and then the next episode is so catchy. You don't know what is gonna be next, and it's a surprise that most of you don't know about, and I also don't know until that I learn they are using CGI to keep the kids in. And hold on a sec, I gonna show you guys one crazy idea that I really have. But I'm saying I'm a Star Wars fan. I literally mean Star Wars fan. There. That's your Darth Vader. But it's a baby version of a Darth Vader. And this Darth Vader stay on my bed and is from Lucasfilm. And I did win couple of these flashies like from the airport. They have this contest quite a few while back, and they talk about Star Wars here and there. And Star Wars is equivalent to $1 million, $1 billion industry for a franchise. And I myself, a Star Wars fan, I use Darth Vader as my bed protector. I use it as a dream protector. For example, I got bad dream. Darth Vader will be there to like slice through the bad dream and open up a new one, a new chapter for me instead. I never use Darth Vader until I know the storybook, or I knew the movie is gonna be good, the animation may be good, and the next thing you know, Darth Vader is a reality. Like this, the flushie itself is Darth Vader. And I don't want to go back to the bed, so sorry Darth Vader if I put you up somewhere else. But that's the story. For example, I throw the Darth Vader, he's gonna be an angry bird, and he's gonna smash me in the head. That's the story time frame here, and you can use that story time frame to actually evolve in one area to another area, and then the another area we talk about how we going to encounter the error that we actually created. And the encounter part is definitely there. While we do that, we also need to check on the tablet. Like, for example, my tablet is not with me right now, so I cannot give you an example. But there's a lot of place we actually use Autodesk to draw on and the tablet, and we draw animation. But we also save the project once in a while. Like today is the time frame date, and we need to draw rabbit. We need to draw Darth Vader. We need to draw Red Riding Hood. We need to draw Wolf. What we're gonna do? We're gonna use Autodesk and draw everything in a sketchbook, and then we send the sketch over to the animation team, and the animation team use it to see whether it's okay to go, or they don't have the idea or something. They use that very fictional book that we send, and then we send it to the animation team. The animation team think it's okay. Then we talk about how we gonna prove this to be a project, and how we gonna use this as video, how we gonna use this for game, how we gonna use this for trailer. A bunch of crazy Houdini tools will be here in a bit, and then we'll be using multiple insanity crazy Activision Lightwork. And then we also use a microphone. From what I'm using here, it's a BM800 plus a sound card. It's not that bad. I myself find it interesting, professional, worth the work. But the money is a big problem. And trust me, gaming is also a big problem. Not just from learning game, but we are learning to build a game is another question mark. How are we going to keep the game for another few more months down the road? And am I gonna feel depressed, or am I gonna feel okay about this, about how we gonna spend the money? And some parents don't understand that we use that idea from learning a game into a game fiction, and we learn to tell a storybook, and we learn to sketch a book, and we also learn animating. How are we going to use that idea to sketch up a game and create your own game. And in time frame, AAA games are not really my genre, but I myself would say AAA games, they use a lot of multiple tools like Unreal Engine and quite a few engines like Steam. They are using Steam, how they sell, how they get money, how we're gonna use this for next project, and a lot of them are using bunch of tools like Houdini and Unity, Unreal Engine. That's a three major platform. And if you guys haven't heard before, there's another one for Java games. Java games years ago was a website built, and a lot of back years before Java was discontinued, they use a lot of Adobe Flash, Adobe here, and then Adobe Premiere. We also use that technology. We use PS PlayStation 4 technology sometime in actual game studio, but right now we work on Unity and Unreal Engine, and maybe down the road Houdini. And that's the game specialist way. And I would say kudos to whoever learned game before me, and they learn Java, they learn this, they learn that. Multiple functions in one place, plus communication with other people, and we talk about marketing our game, like how are we going to sell the game. It's also another crazy, and we talk about how are we going to use that strategy in the marketing. And for example, the poster will be Red Riding Hood having a lightsaber, slicing the wolf or slicing the sandwiches to save themselves and save the grandma. And is the Red Riding Hood brave enough to do this? Is the Red Riding Hood good at lightsaber, or are we gonna use the Red Riding Hood using a gun, a laser gun, or animated gun that we put with the Red Riding Hood? Is not just one animation. There is more than one animation, and sometimes we use that very storybook, a reminder of a real storybook, to use that term, to use the Red Riding Hood. We use Unity, we use Houdini. Houdini will be used in AAA games, but there is way that we use Unreal Engine too, and Unreal Engine is much more sparkle. So you see, game specialist doesn't mean you play game. We use creative ways like how we use the Red Riding Hood. And Red Riding Hood, we can use the creative ways of saying what the fox do, what the wolf do, what Red Riding Hood do, and we can write the change the timeline, the kind of crazy insanity way, and we using Star Wars as a background, and we can use it long, a long far away, a galaxy far away, a Red Riding Hood who have a basket of treats go to the space station where the grandma is, or the grandma stay that area, and the wolf is the Death Vader or the Stormtrooper to stop us. Then the wolf will ask, "Where are you going?" Red Riding Hood tell, "Oh, I'm going to go and visit my grandma and give her this very delicious treat." And then later on, we use that story time frame like the wolf will trick her and use that very magic that we use to like Star Wars, and then how the Star Wars and how the Star Wars film, and then we talk about how we going to use that time frame. For example, the wolf sneak past the security guard training post and go to the grandma house and murder her or something. And then the Red Riding Hood turn up with a lightsaber and turn out the wolf is the stormtrooper. And the stormtrooper got killed by the Red Riding Hood with the lightsaber. You see how Star Wars used that animation story and Angry Bird used that story? We use that same storybook to overthrow a storybook. And then overthrown a storybook, we wrote our own storybook. And our own storybook, we use professional way to learn and communicate with outside people that actually work for storytelling, and they tell us about, oh, Red Riding Hood. Okay, sure, we talk about Red Riding Hood, but let's make a Red Riding Hood 2.0 or 3.0 or 4.0. That's something for you to see. And we also use comic books sometimes. We use comic to learn how the comic book and a fictional book and the fictional book become a storybook. So game developer, they use that mindset. And back to today's topic, I don't know whether this gonna make sense, but I use game to learn the learning curve. I run into bumping road, I run into this, and I can't I can't figure out alone, like, what am I gonna do? This is gonna be one of the project. What am I gonna do? This is gonna be struggling. So the best part is you can A, buy a game and learn, or two games, or you can talk to your in-depth developer team. Like CD Projekt Red, they did the Cyberpunk 2077 and how that game become a disaster within months. And I myself hate CD Projekt Red as a game developer, but I can't blame them. They have a very tight schedule time frame and they try to rush the storybook. It's not something that we call very lazy, but we take it as a learning curve. Do not learn from them. CD Projekt Red make a big major mistake by accidentally releasing the game too early without play test, without doing this, without doing that, without beta test, and then ended up with a garbage game and ended up getting a refund. So as a game developer, we don't want to follow CD Projekt Red. We see what they're doing and we notice about it, and we definitely don't like the bug, and we don't appreciate that we got the game and we ended up making a lot of bug in one places. As a game specialist, we learn about how we're gonna debug the game. We learn about talking to customer service, and then we talk about answering phone from one client to another client, saying that, oh, I want to change this game to look like very realistic, and then we will use that drawing board back, and then we use that dashboard, we use that animation tool, and then we will use Unity, Unreal Engine, Houdini all in one to create a very simple game. And honestly, games comes and goes, and if you haven't noticed how we train nurses and how we train doctors to do a surgery, for example, if you're not sure, the Playware Studio did this project a while back for nurse training and international nurse and doctor training. They use that to train virtual reality, how they cut the person body open, how they do the surgery from stomach to lung to heart, and then how they do CPR in virtual reality, and then they use AR lenses and quite a few other places they use that training to let us as a user to know what we are going to get and what we're gonna learn and how we're gonna learn to be a nurse, how we're gonna learn to be a doctor. We use that very same game technology to save life. As a human being, we learn from one mistake to another mistake, and learning to train a doctor using a VR and a game is very sufficient to emergency responders. We use that to train emergency responder like 911 ambulance type, that kind of training. And for example, you're the game developer have to learn multiple things, not just one, but they need to learn how to CPR. Like in reality, the CPR could be very few seconds, and we are not trained to be a medical professional, but we are here to write a script for the medical professional, what they do here. And then in another room, we use the VR lens to follow the action. For example, they wear a glove, and the VR like content to be very high traffic, and they will use that glove to do CPR, they do lung to mouth kisses, and the other things, other professional use. So not just because of doctor that the ideology is there, but the training itself is a little bit intense here and there. But new trainees from doctor places, nurse and equivalent to hospital and emergency care service, they definitely use game to train themselves before they can get into the ambulance in reality to do the emergency response. That the idea is there for multiple functioning. So that's one to game specialist. So game specialist is more than playing games. It's honestly, and my idea is that, and I'm impressed that the game special they use to train emergency responder. Even police officer in custom, they will use game training before they ended up in the battlefield, or they gonna talk about how they gonna check your passport for entrance for going out of country. So that's just a minor subject here and there. And I myself, I feel the guilty to buy games, but I use game to learn what I actually going to learn. And is it worth? I think it is, but sometimes parents can be a little bit deadlocked to old fashioned, saying that this doesn't work, this doesn't work. It's very cringy to explain to parents to actually, I'm doing this for a school project. It's not something I would say relevant, but I would say it's a very big plus sign if you have interest in a game and you use that game technology to learn what you are actually saying about one game. And one game can eventually a million or mapping and tracing together. So we use that same technology to learn from the developer of the game, and the game itself, the gimmick, how we gonna do this, how we gonna like face the Washington DC, how we gonna shoot this person, or how the enemy is gonna react to you. That's the time frame there, and we're using that time frame to learn more things. In the meanwhile, we are playing the game while we are learning some super feature that we note down, not visible to what parents see, but in our mindset, our idea, how we're going to use that idea to create a new game and a new storybook. How are we going to tell this story? You guys seen movie, and Star Wars is also having a game franchise, and other games have their own franchises. And I said, give it a try. Go and buy one game, two games, and you can hear the enemy footprint, footstep, how they shoot you, how they gonna react, how they gonna tell you things, and you definitely get pissed off at one point. But keep in mind, that's the challenge, right? The challenge of a mindset, how they brutally trigger a bomb in front of you, and how are you gonna sit on the landmine trap for a long period of time. That's the game special effect. Then we use multiple things to one game. So one game is to teach me something, and I said the game is worth something to me. And in my heart, the game is 2 years old, maybe 1 year old. It's also a good thing. Be learning from one curve to another curve. Even Far Cry 6 without borders, and then without, are we going to fit that in our budget? But turn out the price of the game is equivalent to Far Cry 5, so we change our mind to do Far Cry 5 also. And we see the trailer, we see the gameplay, and then we use the gameplay technology to see how the enemy movement to another movement, outpost to post, and then we use the New Dawn as a crazy color scheme, and we use that loot crate from Call of Duty to inbuild to the Call of Duty loot box. So that's the penalty of the game, and there is definitely more than that. If you're looking to game AR and specialists, you definitely would need game specialist technology to learn something like this. And I myself guilty enough to buy game, but game that actually trained me and helped me in my project, which is good enough. I mean, it's worth something. And end of the time, on your training, you definitely be offered a job in some game special channel, and they will use your studio mode, and they will teach you remotely what to write here, what to write there, and they Zoom meeting you. That's very fancy for a Zoom training, eh? For game specialists, I think it's worth the price for what you buy for the hardware, what you buy for the software, what you buy for the game, and what you buy for multiple tools and microphone. Are we gonna use professional microphone? Are we gonna use camera lens microphone? Are we gonna use ACTB mode? That kind of the TB static, the black and white type of TV also we talk about. There is many more things coming from here to another end, but I don't want to keep you guys on the boring term. But game specialists, give it a shot, and we'll talk about old technology as well sometime at our own time. So bye. I hope this give you an idea how we actually change a Red Riding Hood storybook to be more interesting and creative wise. We're not trying to ruin a book, but we are using the Red Riding Hood and Star Wars to mix together to make it a better storytelling book, and we're telling each other how to improve the book and how to use the Clone War as a upcoming strategy, and how we use the aftermath of the Clone War. We use those technology in one movie and one game, and we use that to tell a storybook. Simple. It's very simple, but very difficult to figure. So that sounds about right for me, but yeah, I mean, down the road, It depends on the company that we are gonna be posted to, and we are finding a job through the certification is definitely harder than what I expect, but give it a shot to learn something new, and who knows, you got your dream job as a game specialist one way or another. Well, anyway, I'm out, and I'm here to tell you my experience so far. But down the road, capstone project is coming up in July. I definitely want to do my very best to push in the limit, over the limit.